After I leave, I'll text you, I miss you. I've changed. That's hoovering. I don't mean it. I just want to see if you'll still drop everything for me. Here's why I always come back when you start to heal. It's always the same 3 lines. I cycle through them maybe twice a year, the most powerful and easy lie I ever tell, because it's the lie people are most desperate to believe is true. I don't mean a single word of it. The sentiment is completely manufactured. I just needed to know, in this exact agonizing moment of my own self-doubt, if you would still drop everything for me. It's a low-effort hook, a single fishing line cast out into the calm waters of your newly recovered private world, waiting for the slightest, most pathetic nibble of hope. If you bite, if you respond, I regain all my lost power instantly. The silence since I discarded you has been a slow, agonizing form of emotional withdrawal, a cold turkey I didn't consent to, and I need that fix immediately. The craving for your validation was a physical ache, a gnawing emptiness in my core that only your complete obedience and admiration can soothe. Right now, the phone is in my hand, and my thumb is hovering right over the screen, ready to see those little gray dots flicker to life, promising my immediate relief. The tension is almost unbearable. The anxiety tearing at my chest isn't fear of losing you forever. That's far too deep and complex for my true state. It's the fear of discovering that I am suddenly and permanently irrelevant, that the universe, which I fundamentally believe should revolve around my inherent superiority and needs, might spin perfectly fine without my involvement. That discovery would be a shattering humiliation. That's the true threat. That's the cold, hollow dread that makes my stomach clench and makes me want to smash the expensive phone against the wall just to distract myself from the internal silence. The sheer possibility of your moving on is an unbearable affront to my very existence. I'm on my 3rd beverage, perhaps the 5th, possibly more. I've stopped counting because the numbers themselves are too real, and the room feels too small, suffocating me with its emptiness and lack of attention. The new person I moved on to, they're merely adequate. They give me admiration and a certain amount of pleasant devotion, but it's thin and weak, like watered-down soup with no flavor or nutritional value. They don't have the rich, complicated texture you had. You had depth, you had history, and critically, you had a breathtaking, almost spiritual capacity to forgive my worst behaviors. You understood the intimate, agonizing nuances of my life, the complex, slightly embellished stories I'd told 100 times, and you'd validated them all, treating them as gospel truth. You weren't just a glass of water, you were a deep, self-replenishing well of empathy and energy. And I only needed a teaspoon of your emotional fortitude to keep my elaborate performance going for weeks on end. You were a magnificent, renewable resource, and I let you walk away. I need to correct that costly mistake. The last time I saw you, I didn't just leave with a simple goodbye. I performed a high-speed emotional demolition of your self-esteem first. I told you were being melodramatic, hysterical, even unhinged for daring to feel hurt by my actions. I told you that my behavior wasn't unkind or cruel. It was simply the intense conviction and the necessary passion of a visionary who doesn't have time for petty feelings. I made you feel completely insane for daring to ask for basic respect and kindness, forcing you, in the end, to apologize for the very temper I had unleashed. Then, I disappeared. I didn't block you. Blocking is too definitive, too final, too much like closing a door forever. I went completely silent. I left the door open just a crack, ensuring your loyalty and desperation would keep you checking the handle, hoping I'd finally swing it open for you to rush back into my arms, desperate to serve me once more. That crack is my security blanket. And then the dots appear. She is typing. The soundless movement on the screen is the most beautiful, most promising music I've ever heard. It's the sound of relief. A powerful rush, quick and sharp, shoots through me, spreading a conquering warmth through my entire system, chasing away the cold dread. My heart speeds up, hammering against my ribs, but now it's a triumphant, possessive beat. It's not love, it's not even genuine lust, it's the pure, potent adrenaline of control. The power is back in my hands, exactly where it belongs, dictating your feelings and your next move. The fishing line is tightened, and I feel the undeniable, desperate weight of your hope on the other end. I have her. I have my mirror back. You write, "Is this real? I don't know if I can do this again. You promised me a future." That is the golden key. That is the leverage I paid for with months of false charm. That single sentence, "You promised me a future," is the key that unlocks the cage you built for yourself and keeps you inside. I know what you want more than anything, because I took the time to map out your wishes and desires. You want the perfect life we planned, that sprawling, impossible house on the coast with the perfect view, the business partnership that would make us both successful and famous, the quiet evenings watching the tide come in, finally feeling safe and settled. I've known that perfect vision since our second date, because I asked you for your deepest wish and then immediately inserted myself as the sole vehicle for achieving it. I became the guarantor of your destiny, the only person who could deliver the happiness you craved. This is my favorite mechanism, the one that guarantees maximum retention. I don't call it future faking. I call it promise slavery. It's a sophisticated, psychological Ponzi scheme that runs entirely on your hope, and hope is a resource you seem to have in limitless, self-destructive supply. I'm asking you to buy in right now, today, with your time, your sanity, your remaining emotional energy, and perhaps some of your financial resources, all based on a promise that I have absolutely no intention or ability of delivering. The beautiful future I paint is the necessary collateral for the terrible present you must endure. I'm exchanging a grand, intoxicating fantasy for your absolute, unwavering obedience. I responded immediately. No delay whatsoever. The speed is critical, because you need to know that this is serious, that this is the very moment the fantasy suddenly becomes real and tangible. You need to believe I am finally on the brink of making good on everything I promised. I know I messed up. I know I hurt you deeply, more than anyone should ever hurt anyone. But this time is truly, fundamentally different, I swear on everything. I finally got the initial floor plans for the Italy place finalized. We can start the transfer process next month, before the end of the year. I literally can't live without you, not now that everything is finally coming together. I've secured the initial capital for the project, the one that will change everything for us. I promise you, this is the turning point. I watch the dots reappear, taking slightly longer this time as you digest the scale of the commitment. You are processing the word Italy. You are willfully and desperately ignoring the fact that I just disappeared and caused you terrible emotional pain, because the intoxicating power of the dream is a powerful substance more powerful than the pain of reality. The sheer scale of the lie is what makes it completely convincing. A small lie wouldn't work. Look, the truth is, I can't even handle the pile of dirty plates in my sink right now. I don't know where my car keys are. My personal finances are a complete, terrifying catastrophe held together by sheer willpower and denial, and I just got a nasty official-looking note from the landlord that terrified me into silence. But you don't need to know any of that ugly reality. What you need is a dream. You need to hold on to that single, fragile thread of hope, because if the dream fades, you have to face the cold, empty truth about me. I am nothing more than a selfish, scared child trapped inside a capable man's body. I am not the successful God you worship. The dream buys me time and worship. It keeps you permanently waiting, perpetually convinced that the promised land of stable happiness is just around the corner, which means you have to endure the desert of my abuse today without complaint. It's a grand deflection. If you dare to bring up something real, like why I screamed at you last Tuesday, or why I have never once introduced you to my family or friends, I pivot sharply, indignantly. Why are you worrying about something so small and petty, so transactional, when we're building a dynasty together? You have no vision. Focus on the future we are building. I feel the sickness in the pit of my stomach, the deep, cold knowledge that I am actively destroying a good person's emotional life and wasting their time. But the alternative, the complete internal annihilation of being alone with my true, flawed self, with no one to impress or control, is unimaginably worse. You are my witness, my loyal worshiper, and my emotional shield, all wrapped into one beautiful, predictable person who always, always comes back when I call. You are my life support. You finally call. Your voice is shaky, high-pitched with anxiety and desperate, terrifying hope. The sound confirms my win. You tell me you were so incredibly bored after I left. You confess the quiet was deafening. You started seeing a nice person, a stable person, someone who showed up when they said they would, remembered your birthday without needing a reminder, and paid for their own half of dinner consistently. And you tell me that person was monochrome. You say they were just so nice, a word you use with palpable contempt and boredom. The sound of that contempt is music to my ears. That's how I know I still own you. That is the fundamental mechanism of your enslavement, your addiction to the high-stakes drama I provide. You are what the experts call the empty center. You are a specific kind of dependent who feels truly complete, fully alive, only when you are engulfed by my spectacular chaos and drama. You are the mold that needs the grandiose, unstable clay of a person like me to feel whole, to give you a compelling, dramatic, terrifying story to tell yourself. I give you a rush of endorphins. I give you that potent jolt of fear and adrenaline that makes you feel like you are perpetually on the edge of a cliff, and that constant state of high alert to you is what you mistake for intense love and real connection. When you are with a normal, healthy person, you feel nothing but emptiness, because they don't provide the necessary high. You crave drama. You crave the feeling of being the only person in the world who can handle me, the one who can manage my unstable moods and my complicated life. This sense of burden, of being the one who gets me, makes you feel profoundly indispensable. It gives you a manufactured sense of purpose that your own independent life seems to lack, a purpose that centers entirely around me. You were ready to sacrifice every boundary, every friendship, every personal ambition for me, remember? You took pride in how much disrespect you could endure, how much emotional damage you could absorb and still stand. That was your competitive martyrdom. You were the hero in your own story, the pure-hearted individual saving the doomed genius from himself, and that role was the greatest reward you could imagine. I tell you I'm on my way. I tell you I need you more than I need air, that my life stops when you're not there. I tell you that you are the only one who truly understands my vision, my unique genius, and the complexity of my dark past. I lay the flattery on thick, knowing it's what you crave most. That's all you need to hear. You hang up the phone, and I know you're already frantically cleaning up your apartment, throwing out the sad, pathetic gifts the monochrome person gave you, getting ready for the reunion, preparing yourself for the pain and the ecstasy. You are preparing to receive the flood of worship you will get from being back in my exclusive, terrifying orbit. You will bask in the dangerous technicolor glow of my grandiosity again, even if you know deep down that the light will eventually incinerate you to ash. You choose the fire. But I have to move fast. There's a tiny, dangerous, gaping crack in my perfect facade, and I need you to seal it before the whole thing collapses into dust. Earlier today, my boss, that absolute simpleton, that pathetic functionary who is beneath me in every possible way yet holds the power, had the nerve, the shocking audacity, to publicly question my competence and my work ethic in front of the entire department during a key meeting. It wasn't just a critique, it was a total, undeniable refutation of my brilliance, a public humiliation that cut me to the quick, making me feel small and exposed. It felt like an internal collapse. My false self, that perfect, impenetrable, polished image I project to the world, suddenly shattered into 1,000 pieces. The floor dropped out beneath me, leaving me in a screaming, voiceless void of shame. This is not just a mild injury. This is mortification. The immediate, existential passing of the projected self. My first reaction was pure, blinding, world-ending rage, a frantic urge to obliterate everyone in the room who witnessed my exposure. But that was immediately replaced by a terrifying, hollow calm. I walked out of the office in a disjointed state, completely detached from my own body, seeing the world as if through thick soundproof glass. The shame was too immense to process, too enormous to hold within my consciousness. My entire psyche was annihilating itself in an emergency measure to ensure its own survival. Right now, I need you back because I need to erase the witness of that humiliation. I need to rewrite the history of the day immediately, making sure the record shows I am successful, desired, and brilliant. You will be my immediate, indisputable proof that I am desirable, brilliant, and still in complete control of my life. You will perform the function of my mirror, and I will force you, through conversation and adoration, to reflect back the perfect, flawless image I need to see to survive the internal wreckage. And if you refuse me, if you dare to see the paranoia in my eyes or the tremor in my hand, or if you ask me about the meeting, I will discard you instantly. I will erase you from my life like you never existed. I will make you disappear, because that is the only way to stop the relentless pain of the truth. I am a spectacular failure, and I am utterly, fundamentally alone and unloved. I start the car. I feel the sickness lift and the self-loathing recede as I drive toward you. You are coming back, and my power is restored. The game is over, and I have won the most crucial battle, the battle against my own collapse. You are proof that I am still powerful, still wanted. You are my function, and I value function over feeling, always. I pull out into traffic, feeling superior again, the incident at the office already fading into a bad dream. I'm already thinking about the elaborate lie I will tell you about the initial capital, and what minor exhausting favor I will ask you to do for me tomorrow morning. You will never truly leave, because I hold your destiny hostage. He thinks he has won. He thinks you are just a reliable fish he can reel in whenever his ego is bruised. He thinks his promised slavery lie, which hooks into your deepest hopes, is his greatest, most secure weapon, and that your own deepest wishes make you weak. But there is one thing that terrifies a narcissist more than anything else: consistent, undeniable reality, delivered without emotion or fanfare. If you are the person on the receiving end of this hoovering tactic, this manipulative attempt to suck you back into the cycle, this emotional vacuum cleaner, you need to understand the simple, ruthless mechanism and the only countermove that works every time. He is not trying to heal the relationship. He is trying to distract and retain you using grand, sweeping promises about a future that exists only in his chaotic imagination. His visions of the coast and the business are not a strategic plan. They are a psychological defense mechanism designed to prevent him from facing his own current inadequacy and the chaos of his empty life. The advice is clinical, grounded in research, and it is absolute. You must ignore every single promise about the future. His words are completely worthless, a sound with no substance, a debt he will never service, and a distraction from the present. You judge the relationship strictly on what is happening today, right now. If he says, "We'll be married next year, buying a yacht and building an empire," but he won't take out the trash or follow through on a simple commitment today, he is lying, and he is incapable of change. You must accept this simple, brutal equation. Don't write checks on funds that haven't cleared. You are not wealthy with promises. You are deeply impoverished with present reality. A person like him will always show you who they are in the smallest, most insignificant things. If he says he will call at 5 o'clock and doesn't, or if he promises to fix a simple household item and fails to do so for weeks on end, he is failing your essential micro-test. If he cannot deliver on a 5-minute commitment, you are giving him far too much credit and risking your future to believe he will follow through on a 50-year retirement plan. Stop waiting for the grand theatrical gesture that never materializes. Start watching the tiny, mundane acts of reliability. That is where his true, unreliable character is revealed every single day. If you are the person who feels bored by a stable, kind partner, if the quiet feels empty or dull, you must recognize that you are mistaking intensity for intimacy. You are addicted to the chaos, and you are clinging to his grandiosity because it fills an emotional void you have not yet addressed within yourself. You need to grieve the loss of that excitement, that high. Your aspirations, buying a home, starting a business, traveling, are yours alone. Do not let your dreams be held hostage by his necessary participation, because he will never participate fully. Reclaim them now. Create a concrete, actionable plan to achieve them without him. When he calls with the Hoover, you must recognize that you are not his love. You are his utility, his emotional battery pack. He is not looking for a partner. He is looking for a human mirror to erase the pain of his own internal collapse. When he texts, "I miss you, I've changed," you only need to look at what he did yesterday, not what he promises for tomorrow. The future is always a distraction from the truth of the present. Your sanity is not worth the price of his temporary ego maintenance. You are not responsible for his stability, and you absolutely cannot fix him. Choose yourself. And if you're still listening, I want to talk to you like the close friend I am. This pattern of falling for the same lie, the same emotional hook, is not a moral failing or a sign of weakness. It is a sign that he identified your deepest, most innocent hope and weaponized it against you with masterful surgical precision. But every time you break the cycle and choose sanity, you get stronger. You regain a piece of your lost self. You need to focus every ounce of energy on building the life you promised yourself when you were alone and honest about your needs. Don't look back at the chaos. Look forward to the quiet, dignified life you deserve, the life you build for yourself. That quiet is not boring. That quiet is the beautiful, non-negotiable sound of peace. If this story helped you see the trap for what it is, please support the channel by subscribing and liking the video. Share this with one person who needs to hear it today. You are powerful, you are capable, and you are going to be okay.